Hello and welcome to another Lamp Bible study, and having just a little bit of technical difficulty, but thank you very much for joining me in another Lamp Bible study. We are currently in the book of Deuteronomy, and we are still with Moses, and Moses is about to hand off leadership to Joshua. I'm currently reading from an NIV Collegiate Bible. So thank you very much for joining me today on another Lamp Bible study. And let's begin. We're in Deuteronomy 11. Love and obey the Lord. Love the Lord your God and keep his requirements, his decrees, his laws, and his commands always. Remember today that your children were not the ones who saw and experienced the discipline of the Lord your God. His majesty, his mighty hand, his outstretched arm, the signs he performed, and the things he did in the heart of Egypt, both to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his whole country. What he did to the Egyptian army, to its horses and chariots, how he overwhelmed them with the waters of the Red Sea as they were pursuing you, and how the Lord brought lasting ruin on them. It was not your children who saw what he did for you in the desert until you arrived at this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab the Reubenite, when the earth opened its mouth right in the middle of all Israel and swallowed them up with their households, their tents, and every living thing that belonged to them. But it was your own eyes that saw all these great things the Lord has done. Observe, therefore, all the commands I am giving you today, so that you may have the strength to go in and take over the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess, and so that you may live long in the land that the Lord swore to your forefathers to give to them and their descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. The land you are entering to take over is not like the land of Egypt, for which you have come, where you planted your seed and irrigated it by foot, as in a vegetable garden. But the land you are crossing the Jordan to take possession of is a land of mountains and valleys that drinks rain from heaven. It is a land the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are continually on it from the beginning of the year to its end. So once again, Moses is currently talking about to Joshua and the people. He's reminding them of everything that they went through. And we have to do that too. You know, we have to repeat things in order for people to learn and be able to repeat, you know, and actually succeed in doing those things. And so we see here that Moses is repeating these things. Plus, it's to the newer generation that is getting ready to enter into the promised land. And so just over that, we basically went over what happened in the book of Exodus, as well as Numbers. They left Egypt. They also had some issues in the desert. And then and the Lord was still with them. The Lord was still taking care of them. The Lord was still providing for them. They were still receiving provisions from the Lord. You know, the Lord was still protecting them. And so, however, they were about to enter the promised land. And so the things were about to change, because now they were going to be entering the promised land as the Lord had them do, as well as resetting up the tabernacle to be in the promised land and worshiping the Lord as a nation in where they were supposed to be. So just over these verses, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to mind? How does it make you feel? And what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. So if you faithfully obey the commands I am giving you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, then I will send rain on your land in its season, both autumn and spring rain, so that you may gather in your grain, new wine, and oil. I will provide grass in the fields for your cattle, and you will eat and satisfied, and be satisfied. Be careful, or you will be enticed to turn away and worship other gods and bow down to them. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will shut the heavens so that it will not rain, and the ground will yield no produce. And you will soon perish from the good land the Lord is giving you. Fix these words of mine in your hearts and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Teach them to your children, talking about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your children may be many in the land that the Lord swore to give your forefathers, as many as the days that the heavens are above the earth. So, I've mentioned this before in previous Bible studies. Do we do that? Do we meditate on the Holy Word day and night? Do we think about the Holy Word throughout our day? Do we incorporate that into our thinking and our livelihood? Do we possibly take a moment to look up a verse, or take a moment in prayer and humble ourselves before the Lord? And this is telling us that we definitely should take time. We definitely should consider it in our daily tasks. You think that you went to school and you learned something, or you went to trade, or you just learned from job experience, and you have this knowledge and you apply it to your job. Well, that knowledge is knowledge provided to you from the Lord. And so we don't think about those things. We don't think that, we think we did it. We think that we took the time to learn, we took the time to study, and then it's all our accomplishments. That would not be correct in the way of thinking. Yes, you did study. Yes, you did take time to learn, but that knowledge, that availability of knowledge, you grasping the knowledge and being able to understand it, and then utilizing that knowledge, those are good things that helped you in life. And those good things, all good things, come from the Lord. Someone placed someone there for you to be able to learn, for you to be able to have experience. So he's reminding Joshua and the Israelites that they need to remember. They need to remember what they've learned, what they've went through, and they need whatever it takes for them to remember these things, posting it on door frames, reciting it, making it into songs and hymns and such, talking about it at home, before you go to sleep, when you rise. So he's giving Joshua many examples in the tribe of Israel, the nation now of Israel, many examples of what to do and how to do it. And these are examples, prime examples for us. When you take a shower, when you brush your teeth, when you comb your hair, when you put on your clothes, when you get ready for the day, take a moment while you're doing that and think about the Word. Think to the Lord. Thank Him. That's what it's all about. And we'll read more about that, especially when it comes to Ecclesiastes. That's, after Proverbs, man. Ecclesiastes, sorry. I'm pronouncing it wrong. Ecclesiastes. Everybody's like... Ecclesiastes. We'll get to that when we get to the book of Ecclesiastes. So, how does that make you feel, and What does that make you think? Let's continue to read. If you carefully observe all these commands I am giving you to follow, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his to walk in all his ways and to hold fast to him, then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and you will dispossess nations larger and stronger than you. Every place where you set your foot will be yours. Your territory will extend from the desert of Lebanon and from the Euphrates River to the western sea. No man will be able to stand against you. The Lord your God, as he promised you, will put the terror and fear of you on the whole land wherever you go. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of the Lord your God that I am giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of the Lord your God and turn from the way that I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land you are entering to possess, you are to proclaim on Mount Gerizim the blessings, and on Mount Ebal the curses. As you know, these mountains are across the Jordan, west of the road, toward the setting sun, near the great trees of Moreh, in the territory of those Canaanites living in the Arabah in the vicinity of Gilgal. You are about to cross the Jordan to enter and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you. When you have taken it over and are living there, be sure that you obey all the decrees and laws I am setting before you today. So he's providing them with a warning as well. So he's providing them with knowledge, and he's providing them within that knowledge the blessing of following the Lord's commands, and the curse, which is that if they did not follow the Lord's commands, then they would become like the Canaanites and they would be wiped from the land. So that's a lot to think about. And so we will see just how, if the Israelites were able to hold up to the requirements of obeying the commands. How does that make you feel, and what does that make you think? Let's continue to read. The one place of worship. These are the decrees and laws you must be careful to follow in the land that the Lord, the God of your fathers, has given you to possess, as long as you live in the land. Destroy completely all the places on the high mountains and on the hills and under every spreading tree where the nations you are dispossessing worship their gods. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and burn their Asherah poles in the fire. Cut down the idols of their gods and wipe out their names from those places. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, but you are to seek the place the Lord your God will choose from among all your tribes to put his name there for his dwelling. To that place you must go. There bring your burnt offerings and sacrifices, your tithes and special gifts, what you have vowed to give, and your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks. There in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your family shall eat and shall rejoice in everything you have put your hand to, because the Lord your God has blessed you. You are not to do as we do here today, everyone as he sees fit, since you have not yet reached the resting place in the inheritance the Lord your God is giving you. Just a quick pause. A lot of times when it mentions you are not to do as we do here, or as everyone sees fit, or as each person, what's good in each person's own eyes, or what each person thinks is good, that is because people were not brought together on rules and laws. Everybody literally from time to time were just doing what they thought the Lord wanted, what they thought was righteousness and what was correct, not what was necessarily told to them. And so each person thought of himself as righteous in his own way. So it's good that we communicate to each other, especially, people who are, well, all people really, including church people, including people who are of belief. It's wonderful to have the open communication, because the communication is needed. It's there for wisdom, to gain wisdom and correction, because not a single one of us has full wisdom, full godly wisdom. None of us, because we are ignorant. We have to ask for wisdom, and that wisdom comes from the Lord. And even I continually seek wisdom, because I know that I'm a sinner, and I know that I believe the Lord. I believe Jesus saved me from my sins, but I still need to continue to seek wisdom. I still need to continue to be corrected when I'm wrong, because I'm not self-righteous. I'm not trying to be someone that is a Pharisee or a Sadducee, make my own laws and rules to coincide with the Lord's, because I believe something is holy. And that's what we have to look at ourselves to prevent ourselves from doing as well. We have to make sure that we're not adding, because it says here, it says in the part of the Bible, we're not to add or take away. So we don't definitely want to not add our own sense to what the Lord is telling us. So again, this is as everyone sees fit. That's to end. They have rules and regulations. They have the 10 Commandments written. They have laws and festivals and everything. They're either transcribed or by word of mouth, and they have it. They have all the information that they need. So the whole, what one person does and another person does, what's good in one's own eyes, has to end. Let's continue. Or how does that make you feel? What does that make you think? Like I said before, if that is something that you're not getting from the Holy Spirit, or what you're reading, because this is the living word, I do believe that. It's a holy word beyond our wisdom, that, you may have something completely different that you get. And that's good. If you have any corrections from me or additions, please leave a comment. More than welcome to leave a comment. But how does that make you feel, and what does that make you think? Let's continue to read. But you will cross the Jordan and settle in the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, and he will give you rest from all your enemies around you, so that you will live in safety. Then to the place the Lord your God will choose as a dwelling for his name, there you are to bring everything I command you, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, your tithes and special gifts, and all your choice possessions you have vowed to the Lord. And there rejoice before the Lord your God, you, your sons and daughters, your manservants and maidservants, and the Levites from your towns who have no allotment or inheritance of their own. Be careful not to sacrifice your burnt offerings anywhere you please. Offer them only at the place the Lord will choose in one of your tribes, and there observe everything I command you. All this was very important, especially following exactly what the Lord had commanded. Nevertheless, you may slaughter your animals in any of your towns and eat as much of the meat as you want, as if it were gazelle or deer, according to the blessing the Lord your God gives you. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it, but you must not eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. Another quick pause. So remember, blood represents life. So they didn't, rules, regulations at that time, again, Old Testament and during the law, blood represent life. So they were supposed to not eat something alive and also not drink the blood or eat the blood. They were supposed to cook their food thoroughly to cook out the blood, and if there was blood, they were to throw it out on the ground. And so you must not eat in your own towns the tithe of your grain and new wine and oil, or the firstborn of your herds and flocks, or whatever you have vowed to give, or your free will offerings or special gifts. Instead, you are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God at the place the Lord your God will choose, you, your sons and daughters, your manservants and maidservants, and the Levites from your own towns, and you are to rejoice before the Lord your God in everything you put your hand to. Be careful not to neglect the Levites as long as you live in your land. He's reminding them the Levites work for the Lord, and so they're in full service, which means they can't start a business, and they can't tend to their own farms and grounds. They do eventually they do keep what's given to them, like herds and stuff, like animals and stuff. They have a place designated for that, but they're not working on a farm. They're not working to continually raise cattle and births and all that stuff. So he's just telling the people to remember the Levites who are working for the Lord, because they are helping them as well. It's a community. When the Lord your God has enlarged your territory as he promised you, and you crave meat and say, I would like some meat, then you may eat as much of it as you want. If the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far away from you, you may slaughter animals from the herds and flocks the Lord has given you, as I have commanded you, and in your own towns you may eat as much of them as you want. Eat them as you would gazelle or deer. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat. But be sure you do not eat the blood, because the blood is the life, as we just said. And you must not eat the life with the meat. You must not eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. Do not eat it, so that it may go well with you and your children after you, because you will be doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord. Remember, the Lord will be right there with them. The Lord's going to reside right there with them. And so, this is the rules and requirements to be holy. And that's what they're needing to follow. In the Old Testament, this is the Old Testament, this is under the law. So, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to mind? Could you imagine being back in that time? And would you be able to understand the need for these rules and laws? Some people believe, some like scientists and experts believe, that the reason why they were told not to eat the blood was because it was a nation, and even back then there were diseases and such and everything else. That's one of those that and I didn't even mean to like roll my eyes or anything. The Lord was with them. Like, the Lord's there. The Lord's giving these commands. If they could drink the blood or something, I'm pretty sure that it would be fine. The Lord would cleanse it or whatever. But it was a representation. It was a representation of life. Sometimes science tries to resolve things that are semi-true or true to a point when it comes to man. But when it comes to God, like even when it comes to our medicines, when it comes to everything, man, we're not 100%. It does work, it can work, it may work, but when it comes to the Lord, it works 100% of the time. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. There is no testing thousands and hundreds of thousands of millions of times to see if there was a different outcome. When it's the Lord, it's perfect. It's done correctly. So there's a difference. So how does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. But take your consecrated things and whatever you have vowed to give, and go to the place the Lord will choose. Present your burnt offerings on the altar of the Lord your God, both the meat and the blood. The blood of your sacrifices must be poured beside the altar of the Lord your God, but you may eat the meat. Be careful to obey all these regulations I am giving you, so that it may always go well with you and your children after you, because you will be doing what is good and right in the eyes of the Lord your God. The Lord your God will cut off before you the nations you are about to invade and dispossess. But when you have driven them out and settled in their land, and after they have been destroyed before you, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their gods, saying, how do these nations serve their gods? We will do the same. You must not worship the Lord your God in their way, because in worshiping their gods, they do all kinds of detestable things the Lord hates. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their gods. See that you do all I command you. Do not add to it or take away from it. So here we go. He's telling them, you're going to see things. You're going to look at things. You may even be fascinated by things that you come across, because they're going into the promised land, and all these cities and towns and villages and such have been built up. Wells have been dug. The land has been tended to. That they were there previously, but remember, they were in Egypt, and now they came back, and then they rebelled against a generation rebelled against the Lord, so that generation has died off. So now it's the new generation, and they are to follow the Lord into the promised land. And so he's warning them. He's like, you're going to see things. You're going to see riches. You're going to see all kinds of things. Don't be fascinated about their worshiping practices, because it's going to lead you down the wrong road. It's going to lead to their destruction, basically. And so he's given them a fair warning. They even went as far as burning their children in the fire to sacrifice to these gods who were not anything, so sometimes it's amazing what man can think of or do. God gives us that free will, and sometimes man can be evil with it. It's unfortunate, but that's why we need Jesus, and that's why we have the Holy Word. How does it make you feel? And what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Worshipping other gods. If a prophet or one who foretells by dreams appears among you and announces to you a miraculous sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder of which he has spoken takes place, and he says, let us follow other gods you have not known, and let us worship them, you must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. It is the Lord your God you must follow, and him you must revere. Keep his commands and obey him. Serve him and hold fast to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death, because he preached rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. He has tried to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you. This goes into a lot. There's a lot of meat in here. I'm not quite sure if okay, so I'll go about it in a certain way, because this is the living word. So when it comes to, and it talks about spiritists and, and diviners and all that in here, and people who are crafts. And as you can tell right now, this is a person who is telling them that they're a prophet. There are people that are given things. There are people that are given, because even the devil knows the word. And they know that things are true as to what the word tells them is going to happen. So the Lord tests his people. And also you have people who may get something, a dream, something being, that they can foretell or whatever. And it's their responsibility to question where that's coming from, where that wisdom comes from. Is it coming from the Lord, or is it coming from something else? The devil or a demon, which demons are basically are fallen angels that rebelled against the Lord. So, it's showing right here that it can be a test. And so when you do feel that you may have a dream, or you may feel like you're hearing something, but you have that inkling, that feeling, that weird feeling, go straight to the Lord. Go straight to the Lord with it. Sometimes it may be the Lord, and it puts you in a position like you feel uncomfortable or you feel weird or something. Sometimes the Lord asks us to do things that makes us uncomfortable. It's hard to speak to strangers, especially about the Holy Spirit, the Holy Word. And so, but sometimes you get something in it, or somebody may get something and it may not be, maybe a test, an allowed test, to see how they treat it. Do they go to the Lord? Or do the people go to the Lord when they hear the prophecy or the fortune or whatever it may be? Do you turn to the Lord when someone tells you something? Do you feel like you need to? Especially if you're feeling like you need to, or you feel like something's off, definitely take it to the Lord. So this has a lot of meat in it. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does that make you feel? And what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. If your very own brother, or your son or daughter, or the wife you love, or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, "Let us go and worship other gods, gods that neither you nor your fathers have known, gods of the people around you, whether near or far, from one end of the land to the other, do not yield to him or listen to him. Show him no pity. Do not spare him or shield him. You must certainly put him to death. Your hand must be the first. Your hand must be the first in putting him to death, and then the hands of all the people. Stone him to death, because he tried to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Then all Israel will hear and be afraid, and no one among you will do such an evil thing again." So again, this fair warning, he's given it to the Israelites. Once again, this is during the law. The Lord's going to be living with them, and this is what they needed to do to be holy back in during this time in Deuteronomy, and would be going forward as well once they reach in the promised land. So he's giving them things of what they may come across and what to do. If you hear it said about one of the towns the Lord your God is giving you to live in, that wicked men have arisen among you and have led the people of their town astray, saying, "Let us go and worship other gods, gods you have not known," then you must inquire, probe, and investigate it thoroughly. And if it is true, and it has been proved that this detestable thing has been done among you, You must certainly put to the sword all who live in that town. Destroy it completely, both its people and its livestock. Gather all the plunder of the town into the middle of the public square and completely burn the town and all its plunder as a whole burnt offering to the Lord your God. It is to remain a ruin forever, never to be rebuilt. None of those condemned things shall be found in your hands, so that the Lord will turn from his fierce anger. He will show you mercy, have compassion on you, and increase your numbers, as he promised on oath to your forefathers, because you obey the Lord your God, be keeping all his commands that I am giving you today, and doing what is right in his eyes. So again, once again, we're talking about people who may that go in this land and then start looking around and thinking that they have the answer because they saw it on a board, or they saw something or read something, or that didn't get destroyed or whatever, and now they're starting to practice these worshiping of other gods, things that are not real. And he's giving them a fair warning. Remember, God's a jealous God, and he's telling them time and time again, he's telling them what's going to happen. So there's a lot of meat in this. What kind of thoughts or feelings do you have? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Clean and unclean food. You are the children of the Lord your God. Do not cut yourselves or shave the front of your heads for the dead, for you are a people holy to the Lord your God. Out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, the Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession. Do not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals you may eat: the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. You may eat any animal that has a split hoof divided in two and that chew the cud. However, of those that chew the cud, or that have a split hoof completely divided, you may not eat the camel, the rabbit, or the coney. Although they chew the cud, they do not have a split hoof. They are ceremonially unclean for you. The pig is also unclean. Although it has a split hoof, it does not chew the cud. You are not to eat their meat or touch their carcasses. Pause. So I don't know how it affects people to this day, but this is, again, under the law. The Old Testament, during when the Lord was residing with them. And this points out that we need Jesus. And we'll go over it. It's going to be a little while, but before we get to the book where this is spoken back to, and then the realization of this is not a contradictory at all. This is what was needed to be holy. And so these were the directions at that time. But we know that there will be issues, and we'll go over that at a different time. I just wanted to pause because I know a lot of people utilize this for what they literally eat, and I'm like, did you read the whole Bible? I'm like, okay, so it's not to be, and I say that, like jokingly, but again, there's times for correction, there's times for wisdom. Even myself, I know that this was what was needed during the law, under the law, during that period. So this was required. And if we were to live under law, if if the Lord God did not send his son Jesus, all of this would still be what would be required to live with the Lord, to be holy. But us as man, we can't live up to the law. The law is a reflection of ourselves to show us just how sinful we are. So let's continue to read. I know that was a pause. If you do, what thoughts, what kind of feelings do you have? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Of all the creatures living in the water, you may eat any that has fins and scales, but anything that does not have fins and scales you may not eat. For you it is unclean. You may eat any clean bird, but these you may not eat: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, the black kite, any kind of falcon, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the cormorant, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. All flying insects that swarm are unclean to you. Do not eat them. But any winged creature that is clean you may eat. Do not eat anything you find already dead. You may give it to an alien living in any of your towns, and he may eat it, or you may sell it to a foreigner, but you are a people holy to the Lord your God. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Tithes. Oh, so before we go on, again, how does the passages that we just read, the holy word that we just read, how does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Again, these are the requirements under law once the people are in the promised land. Let's continue to read. Tithes. Be sure to set aside 1/10 of all that your fields produce each year. Eat the tithe of your grain, new wine and oil, and the firstborn of your herds and flocks in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose as a dwelling for his name, so that you may learn to revere the Lord your God always. But if that place is too distant, and you have been blessed by the Lord your God and cannot carry your tithe, because the place where the Lord will choose to put his name is so far away, then exchange your tithe for silver, and take the silver with you, and go to the place the Lord your God will choose. Use the silver to buy whatever you like: cattle, sheep, wine, or other fermented drink, or anything you wish. Then you and your household shall eat there in the presence of the Lord your God, and rejoice. And do not neglect the Levites living in your towns, for they have no allotment or inheritance of their own. At the end of every 3 years, bring all the tithes of that year's produce and store it in your towns, so that the Levites who have no allotment or inheritance of their own, and the aliens, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns may come and eat and be satisfied, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. So this is a good time to pause for just a moment, because and go over what we learned. So this is showing us that they're going to go in and take the land as their possession, destroying the people who were there, because that is those people's punishment, as the Lord had told them. You know, the people of Israel didn't earn the right to go into the promised land. It was a promise that he gave their forefathers, or their Jacob, Israel, and Isaac, and Abraham, and that he was giving them the promise, but he was also providing judgment on the nations that were already there. And so what we're seeing is that besides that, after that, and once they start living in the land, there will still be the aliens, there will still be foreigners, and they are to represent how the Lord's people are. And so any of those people, the aliens, the foreigners, could conform at any time, and confess that the Lord is God and have that faith. And so this was a way to show that, because they were able to, especially people in abundance, give. They were still going to have a community, and there were still going to be people who would come into the community and see that they're being blessed, because other nations, when Israel's following correctly all the commands, following the law, then they are blessed, and they will bless other nations around them. They will bless the nations around them. And so the foreigner or the alien would see this, and they could conform and be a part of Israel. This was to show the world how it's really done. And so in our lives, have you thought about that? Have you thought about the way you live, the way you act, the way you show yourself to others, how that can affect other people? I know that one thing I dislike is first impressions, because a lot of people, and that goes with judging, a lot of people immediately go after first impressions, and that's not, for me personally, that's not necessarily always a good thing, because sometimes you can catch somebody on a bad day or a good day. You could, and so when it comes to how I present myself and how I think and feel and act outwardly, does that, I have to think about that. Does that prevent me from being used? Or am I doing things myself and using myself in the wrong way, and not allowing the Lord to utilize me and let the Holy Spirit work through me and be a light on the earth? So that's things that we have to think about. Or do I act in a manner that shows or provides that feeling of the Holy Spirit, provides that feeling of love and comfort to others? Or is that an afterthought for us, throughout our life? That's something to think about. I mean, it really is. As well as, when it comes to other people, whether they're a part of your community or not. Are you welcoming? I know I've talked about this before in a previous Bible study. Like, I will smile and wave to somebody, and now, like, it's more common nowadays that somebody will be almost off, like offensive. Like, and I know, in some cultures and such, it's not good to look in somebody's eyes or something, directly into the person's eyes or something. However, that's a form of communication, but I understand that other cultures don't have that as a honorable thing. So there must be another way. So it's difficult when it comes to walking up to somebody. And so we also have to get around that fear. Even myself, have to get around that fear of going to a stranger or saying something to a stranger like, Jesus loves you, God bless. Or I'm praying for you. Or, let the Lord speak to you because Jesus loves you. It can be difficult. It really can, even for myself. So again, there's a lot of me. I have so many thoughts on here. They go everywhere. I'm not quite sure. How do you feel? What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? And how does it make you think? Let's continue to read. the year for canceling debts. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how it is to be done. Every creditor shall cancel the loan he has made to his fellow Israelite. He shall not require payment from his fellow Israelite or brother, because the Lord's time for canceling debt has been proclaimed. You may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your brother owes you. However, there should be no poor among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all of these commands I am giving you today. For the Lord your God will bless you as he has promised, and you will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. So just right there, remember, the Lord's people are going to be blessed, and they're going to be a blessing to all the other nations around them. They're going to be an example, a correct example of how it is to follow the Lord and be blessed. Right there. If there is a poor man among your brothers in any of the towns of the land that the Lord your God is giving you, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward your poor brother. Rather be open-handed and freely lend him whatever he needs. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought. The 7th year, the year for canceling debts is near, so that you do not show ill will toward your needy brother and give him nothing. He may then appeal to the Lord against you, and you will be found guilty of sin. Give generously to him, and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore I command you to be open-handed toward your brothers and toward the people and needy in your land. And so he's telling us right there will always be poor people. And the reason for that, there could be many reasons for that. It could be testing. It could be on earth judgment, against the person. It could be many things. It could be nothing. It could be nothing. It could be they just ended up being poor. It could be just out of the blue. So, but it also says for the community to help their needy, to help the poor, because they're being blessed, and they help the blessed, then they will be blessed more. Think about that today. Do we do anything like that in our community? I know some communities have like health centers or pantries and such, just for food. But do we also, and some even communities have shelters, but as a whole community. And so not just a few, not just workers at a pantry and not just workers at a shelter, but do we as a whole community lend a hand? Also, wouldn't it be nice for there to be every 7 years cancellation of debt? And I'm not talking about like, it could be said about things, other things, but not necessarily what you may think. Like, not going along the lines of earthly possessions, but sometimes you do need something. Like, you have a job and you need a car to go to work, and you're doing your best to make payments, but you just all the bills may just be adding up to not enough. And so wouldn't it be nice to have some type of forgiveness after 7 years? I mean, I know a lot of people currently dealing with student loans. That's one of the heavily populated news topics everywhere, and just inflation in general. So it'd be nice, but again, this is during the law. This is during the law when Moses and now he's handing it off to Joshua, how Israel was supposed to live in the community, and they were supposed to protect and care for their poor. And We can take this for ourselves today. This is wisdom. We are to protect and be there for the poor. We're not supposed to be greedy. We're supposed to give freely and help those that need help. So take a moment to think about that. How does it make you feel? And what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Freeing servants. If a fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, sells himself to you and serves you 6 years, in the 7th year you must let him go free. And when you release him, do not send him away empty-handed. Supply him liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Give to him as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I give you this command today. But if your servant says to you, I do not want to leave you, because he loves you and your family and is well off with you, then take an awl and push it through his ear lobe into the door, and he will become your servant for life. Do the same for your maidservant. Do not consider it a hardship to set your servant free, because his service to you these 6 years has been worth twice as much as that of a hired hand, and the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. So that happens sometimes. Where the person would sell themselves as a laborer for the family, and they would get along with the family and realize they didn't have to worry about other things of, specifically their own land or their own whatever. They could request to stay with that family. And so right here, the Lord was saying, sure, they could, stay with you, and that's okay. Again, this is back during the law. And he was giving them a guide. Treat them as family. Treat them as an addition to your blessing. How does it make you feel? What does it make you think? Let's continue to read. The firstborn animals. Set apart for the Lord your God every firstborn male of your herds and flocks. Do not put the firstborn of your oxen to work, and do not shear the firstborn of your sheep. Each year you and your family are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose. If an animal has a defect, is lame or blind, or has any serious flaw, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You are to eat it in your own towns. Both the ceremonially unclean and the clean may eat it, as if it were gazelle or deer. But you must not eat the blood. Pour it out on the ground like water. So, we just completed chapters 11 through 15. So let's do a quick review while we still have a few moments. We talked about love and obey the Lord, how Israel, he was reminding the people everything that has happened since leaving Israel, and how the Lord protected them and destroyed Pharaoh's army, and how they were to love the Lord. And we also went over the one place of worship, how the Lord was telling them that he was going to choose a place once they get into the promised land, and that they would want to travel to that place in order to worship the Lord and provide offerings. We also talked about worshiping other gods and how important it was, how it was repeated throughout here, that they were getting ready to enter land that was not theirs, and that these people worshiped other gods, other things that didn't do anything. Even passed their babies through fire, or sacrificed their babies, to these stone, wood, and whatever gods. So he was warning them against it. He's saying, he's a jealous God, and he will take away the blessing just as easily it came as it was provided. And what to do in those cases if there were people that were rebelling and serving other gods. We also talked about clean and unclean food, and how that was specific to that time in the law. We also talked about tithes. And we also talked about the year of canceling debts, which is something that would be wonderful if we had some. But, we kind of do. We kind of do. I know here we do in certain ways or certain things. So, and whatever your situation is, you may want to do some more research if you have a situation like that. There's a lot of things. Like I said, they could do something about student loans. They could do something about the way things are because, there's a lot of greed. It's unfortunate. A lot of people overpay for things. So that would help out, that would really help out a lot of people. We also went over freeing servants and how if they didn't want to be free, they could stay with the family. And the firstborn animals as well. So we went over quite a bit. Deuteronomy is very meaty. There's a lot of stuff in here. And if you have time to go back and read it and read different passages and or just jot down notes, do so. It takes that time. So thank you so much for joining me on another Lamp Bible study. We will continue to read. And I do put these videos out every Tuesdays and Thursdays, of course. And I'm also, I almost forgot, going to have soon called flashlights, which are going to be Bible verses. And they're going to be little short videos, but they're going to be Bible verses for the day or the week or such. And those will be coming out hopefully soon. Hopefully soon I will start posting those. I'm very excited because it's just an addition. It's just another thing because I know everybody doesn't have a whole lot of time, and it's sometimes it can be difficult because you could be going through things or it could be just a time in your life where you're super, super busy. But even when we're super busy, there's always time. As we read today in the Lamp Bible study, there's always time for the Lord. When you wake up, when you go to bed, when you brush your teeth, when you comb your hair, when you eat, when you drink. So, let that, meditate on that. Think about the Lord, bring him up. Bring up the Lord. So, again, thank you for joining me in another Lamp Bible study. I hope that we continue to seek the Lord's wisdom together. Please pray for me, and I continue to pray for you always. And wherever you are, have a blessed morning, a blessed day, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening, and a blessed night. Thank you.